Hi, I am Miss Sanka, and today we are going to read this book called The Name Jar by Yang Suk Choi. Looking at the front cover, do you want to take a guess on why this book is called The Name Jar? There's a little jar here, some papers in it. If we look at the very first page, there's little red stamps around, but there's also a bunch of different names on a piece of paper. So there's Daisy, Wednesday, Hannah, Joanna, Sarah. I wonder why there are so many names. What's your name? Do you love your name? And this book I connect with so much because growing up, I got made fun of a lot because my name was hard to pronounce and people didn't really know it. It's different. And there was a long time I didn't like my name. But for me, I finally came to realization how important my name was to myself and to my family and to the journey of how we got to where we were. But right now, I am going to invite you to enjoy this story with me, The Name Jar. Through the school bus window, Unhei looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. So she's on her way to school. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Unhei's tears and handed her an ink pad in a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Unhei had wondered. Again she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves in the ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandma's smile. So she's thinking about the time she had left Korea and her grandmother had given her a gift with her name engraved into a little wooden block. "Is that thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Unhei, surprising her. Unhei looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Unhei answered, quickly putting the pouch back into her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" the girl asked. "Unhei," she said. "Oh, ni?" the girl said, scrunching her face up. Oh, ni, some kids chanted. No, Unhei, corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Unhei. "Oh, yo hey," the boy said. "Like you, hey. What about hey you?" But then the bus had pulled up to the school, and the doors opened. Unhei hurried to get off. "You hey, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Unhei felt herself blush. Unhei stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to the other rooms, but her face still felt red. "Aren't you going in?" asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Unhei nodded. And before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Cockatoos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Cockatoos thanked him and greeted Unhei. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. She and her family just arrived from Korea last week. Unhei smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" someone shouted. Unhei pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet," she told the class. "But I'll let you know by next week." As Mr. Cockatoos showed her to the desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. "Why doesn't she have a name?" she heard someone whisper. "Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and need a new identity," a boy replied. So at this point, she's feeling quite nervous. And she's telling them she doesn't have a name. I wonder why she's telling them she doesn't have a name. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Unhei kept thinking about her name. How was school, Unhei? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Unhei simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by the photograph of her grandma. I'm glad you are learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you're a good Korean. I will, replied Unhei. But I think I would like my own American name, she asked quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Unhei is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Unhei complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Unhei, her mother said. That's a good thing. Unhei just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Unhei and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidil's Falafel, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meats. She also found some seaweed, Unhei's favorite, for soup. It made Unhei smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we have to stop eating Korean food. So they're at Kim's Market to get all the groceries they need so her mom can still make the dishes they love. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Unhei. Helping your mother with the shopping? He asked. Unhei nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said. And what's your name? Unhei, she answered. Ah, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Unhei nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put their groceries into bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Unhei. That evening, Unhei stood in the front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Hi, my name is Susan, she said to the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. The next morning, when Unhei arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Unhei took one out and read it aloud. Daisy? That's my baby sister's nickname, but she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Unhei took out the rest of the paper. Tamala? She read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Unhei nodded and folded another piece of paper. Wednesday? Yeah, you came here on a Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Unhei's face. Ralph quickly said, We'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like, or pick them all, and you'll have the longest name in history. So when she came back to class the next day, there's a big jar on her desk with little pieces of paper in it with tons of different names. And the kids put different names in there for her and gave her suggestions for a name. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Unhei looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched the other kids leaving in groups. Hey, a familiar voice called out to her. Unhei turned around to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Unhei thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and took out a small red pouch. She pressed the wooden block on an ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. So she's carrying that block that her grandmother gave her, and now she's showing this new friend the stamp. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandmother gave it to me in Korea. I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Unhei said. Then the two of them shared the umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day the jar got fuller with more names, and Unhei read them all. She found a few names she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose a name I put in, Marco told her in snack time. I put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. When Unhei got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. She opened it quickly. It said, To my Unhei, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up, but there the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you will always be my Unhei, your grandma forever. Unhei took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. On Saturday, Unhei walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Unhei. Hello, Mr. Kim, Unhei replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Unhei? He asked her with his eyes open wide. Unhei looked quickly at Mr. Kim, then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Unhei. It means grace, Mr. Kim added. Unhei, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Unhei smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Unhei, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. So she sees Joey at Mr. Kim's store, and Joey just found out her name. On Monday, Unhei came to class early to look at the names one last time. But the jar wasn't on the desk. Instead, it was just a single piece of paper. Paper with a name on it. Unhei slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Unhei said. It wasn't on Mr. Cockatoos' desk or on any other desks. It wasn't on the counters or any other shelves. As the other kids arrived, they helped to look. Soon Mr. Cockatoos came in and Ralph shouted at him, The name jar is gone! The jar was with all the names in it. Gone? Mr. Cockatoos replied. With a look of concern, he asked Unhei, Did you get a chance to read all the names? Unhei nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Unhei wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I like the beautiful names and the funny names you thought of for me, she told the class, but I realized that I like my name best. So I chose it again. Korean names mean something. Unhei means grace. Grace? Grace in Hay, shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say it. Yahei, Unyi, Unhei. Unhei said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon the kids began to say it even better. Even Mr. Cockatoos. They applaud Unhei's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Unhei. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Cockatoos reminded everyone. When the class was dismissed, Unhei heard her new friend say, Goodbye. Bye, Unhei. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Unhei. Unhei said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. So she finally shared her name with the class, and she picked her name. And she had come to realize how beautiful and important her name is. And after thinking for a long time that maybe she should pick a name to fit in and a name to feel more American, she realized just as important names are an important part of her and who she is. And she was very brave to share her name as it is with people who may or may not know it, may or may not make fun of her, but she explained and shared that information. Unhei, come downstairs. Mother called up to Unhei. Your friend is here. Unhei rushed down to see who she meant. There stood Joey, and in his arm was the name jar. Where did you find it? Asked Unhei breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name. And you did. He reached in and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Unhei said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You can keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you could put some Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meaning. I could do that, agreed Unhei. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose one. Carefully, he pulled out a small silver felt pouch from his pocket. Then he took out a dark wooden stamp with beautiful Korean characters carved sharply into it. He pressed it in the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Chinku, read Unhei. That means friend, and Chinku smiled back. Thank you for reading this story with me. I hope you are proud and happy to share your name with your friends, your classmates, and other people you come across. Names are so important. Names have meanings, names have history, and names are a part of who we are. It's our identity, and I hope you enjoyed this book.